Hi, everybody. So you all are in the room, which is focused on your technology service providers who are doing work in the area of the user experience. A very quick intro. Yeah, Jayata is a product manager at a Pirimid Fintech, and we have Nirav, who's the CEO. The Pyramid is been working on end to end in the lending solution for the banks, not just in India but across the globe. And at least for the a few months, they've been working, with us extremely closely. So they're very familiar with the account aggregator ecosystem, and they also develop the FIU modules, which is the your foundation gateways, for any institution to get onto the AA framework. I think one of the most important, factors which we all need to think about, for the success is the user experience. Like in the back end, you may be good, okay, but if the user is not able to find all your bells and results on the product in a very easy way, they're not going to use it. So how about we now hear, from Jayata, from here, and I will go backstage. Over to you, Jayata and Nira.
Thank you so much, Mahesh. Thank you so much for the introduction. Yeah, I think I'd begin right now. First of all, thank you for providing us with such a great opportunity for us to present our user experience in front of a lot of eminent members from the ecosystem. So I'd start by giving a very brief about our company. I'll try to share my screen so that you have a good idea where we are. So, starting about Pyramid Fintech, we had started around 5 years back, and the first experience that we had with regards to open banking was when we had worked for our client based on out of UK. So that is where we understood about the open banking ecosystem and how it has been evolving. Since then, we have been, I think, very closely associated with Sahamati since the time account aggregation came into effect. It is taking up at a lot faster pace than we anticipated it to be. And yeah, essentially going forward and giving a very brief about where we stand right now and what is our vision before moving into user experience per se is we as a company are focusing on an end-to-end digital lending stack where we are trying to simplify user onboarding journeys with regards to our end-to-end lending models that we have. We are present on the OKEN bridges also right now, and our end-to-end mobile SDKs that help a particular customer to say on board onto the lending ecosystem. We also have a second part that I would want to talk about, that would be the data sourcing, and that is where account aggregation comes as a major data source for all of us. We also take in various other inputs like bank statements, GSTs, etc. And account aggregation, since its advent, it has brought in a lot of rich data, and it has uh, changed our user journey for the prospective FIUs that we are working with. Moving on to credit review and decisioning, we also have our in-house underwriting engines that take in data, that take in a lot of data from different data sources and help banks and NBFCs with their underwriting. We're also working on the lender OKEN bridge right now, which also takes in account aggregation as one input data source. Moving on to loan servicing, we have been working with different LOS and LMS providers to provide an end-to-end journey. uh, Portfolio management is somewhere where we have our flagship in-house product called the early warning system, which takes in input from a lot of these different data sources to come about for efficient monitoring of the loan portfolios per se. This is We as a company think that this is very important right now with the recent mandate that RBI had done few years back. It is a mandate into all the banks and NBFCs to monitor the portfolios turning NPS. And yeah, this is how we do. go on about it. Lastly, talking about the collection. So here we work with different vendors and partners that we have to facilitate auto payments, be it e-Nash, be it in form of e-mandates, etc. So this is how we are powering our vision of becoming an end-to-end digital lending stack. I'll try to come and talk about our account aggregator offerings, specifically into the user experience part. So, as Vamsi had rightly pointed out in the last session, that user experience is one of the important important integrations per se from a end customer's perspective. Hence, we at Pyramid believe that we would need a very tight integration from our side with, be it with FIUs or be it with account aggregators, to provide a consumer with a seamless onboarding journey. We have tried to keep our user experience with minimal touch points, following the Sahamati's checklist that we had recently discussed about. It is also very important for us to be, as Vamsi had pointed out, it is very important for us to be very consistent across all the touch points that we move across our mobile SDKs, and hence we're trying to take all of them into effect. These are few of the solutions apart from the UX journey that we deliver. These are the gateways and analytics that we do. I'd skip this for now, as yeah, working going towards the user experience, I'd like to first start by showing a small video about our login journey for UX. Yeah, so this is our login screen, and I start by playing with the video for our UX. So the use case that we have taken right now is a digital lending use case where I am taking a particular loan for any particular product that I see at a store. So essentially, taking loan for any consumer durable applications that I go and buy. So this is the journey that end customer sees per se. This is, say, if an end customer wants to log in via an OTP onto an application. Yeah. So this is the login that has been done. The second screen that we show is a detailed view of all the steps that the consumer sees. We believe this is very important for the consumer because before starting with the application, the consumer has a picture in hindsight as to what would be the steps that would be involved for a particular customer's life cycle, and hence this is where we are showing it at the beginning itself. Yeah, we start with the begin journey where in this particular case we have shown simple forms that are being filled by a customer. So these are the basic details that we would need from a customer. So we've just shown this where the customer enters his or her personal information and also the information about the product that he or she wants to buy. So this is where I say proceed with my application. This is a basic KYC screen that we have shown per se, just to show that the KYC is being done by the customer based on OTP based consent mechanism. And post the KYC is being done, the customer is redirected to this screen, essentially, which shows the AA flow, where I have an option of either powering my lending via online, that is on the account aggregator framework, or I do it by either uploading PDFs on net banking. Here, I would like to point out the way we have kept it is the user first goes and selects a particular bank. If that bank is live on account aggregator, only then will they get an online
Just a
option.
minute, Jayata. Okay.
Yeah,
So for all those who are over here, see, you'll be able to expand the screen. Okay. You'll, find in that black screen, you are having four arrows which go in all the four corners. So if you click on that, you'll be able to see her, all the screens, it'll be more readable. So I thought I'll just let you know.
sure. Yeah, thanks, Mahesh. So yeah, moving on. I, as a customer, if I select a bank, if I have a bank account with HDFC, which is currently live on AA, I would get an option to see it online here. And whereas if I select any other bank which is still not live on AA, this option would not be visible to me. So this is one way where we have tried to simplify the user journey by making some tweaks at our backend to show only those particular widgets that are available for configurable banks. Here also the terminology that we have used in our UX, we've tried to keep it as simple as possible, because for an end customer it might be difficult for someone to understand what particular account aggregation terminology means. Hence, we have kept it very simple for the end user to actually go ahead and share the details. Here you can see that because it is recommended by the system, we have given a very quick CTA to the consumer to select the online option which is powered by account aggregator. Yeah. Moving ahead, if I already, this is a login flow. So if I already have an account, I just click on online, and at my backend, the APIs run and understand where my VOA ID. So I essentially have a VOA ID, and I have a particular terms and conditions of AA being met. So if I want to log in via this VOA ID, which is found out at the backend, I just click and on login via OTP. Whereas if I want to, if the certain way VOA ID is for some other AA, and I say if I have accounts with two different AAs, and if I want to log in via some other AA, so essentially I can just use a pencil icon to change the VOA ID and move ahead to log in via the OTP. So I just go ahead and log in via OTP here, which is a single step login that I do. I accept the consent. I also have terms and conditions mentioned on that screen itself, hence giving full transparency to the user, the end customer. Here, if I have two banks that have been already linked to my account, I have an option to choose and select both the bank's data, one of the bank's data, or none of them their data. I also get a view into what kind of details are being shared, the frequency of those details being shared, and the validity of those details, bank statements from time to time. If you notice, we have also, so because this is into the SDK of particular AAs, there is a AA logo that has been associated with every screen, because this would be embedded into the AA SDK would be embedded into our app. So here I have an option to approve the consent, and I just go ahead and say approve the consent via a single OTP consent based mechanism. Yeah. So essentially, this was the login journey where my bank account details are now being shared with the banks and the NBFCs or any other FIU per se. And on the back end, the underwriting is then being done to determine what would be the loan amount that has to be payable to me. It would just give me a very clear picture that I'm eligible for the loan and I should go ahead and apply. Continuing the journey, I click on apply and I set up an auto payment. So for that auto payment, I set up my bank account, I set up the account numbers, etc. And I just click on confirm. This is where my bank account verification takes place at the backend, where I verify that this is a valid bank account and I proceed for an e-signature. So this e-signature is facilitated via an OTP based consent that I do. And yeah, here I sign the loan agreement. And finally, my loan is being disbursed on a particular email ID. So this is the journey of how we are envisioning a login flow for a particular user. I'd also like to take you through another journey. I'd like to take you through a sign up flow for our application. So essentially, the way we are looking at it is we'll be looking into three journeys here. I had taken you through a login journey, I'd take you through a sign up journey, and then I'd also like to talk about how we have embedded multi AA support into our journeys. Yeah. So essentially, this is a new registration flow where I log in via an OTP. It is the same use case for a lending ecosystem that we are seeing. Yeah, I just proceed. This is the KYC that I am doing with an OTP based authentication. And here is when I am getting an option to use the RBI account aggregator framework online. So essentially here, if you may see, if I'm a first time user, my backend APIs detect that I'm a first time user and I do not have any account with any of the AAs. I have a pre-filled VOA ID with my phone number at the rate AA. I, as a customer, can also use the pencil icon to change the VOA ID per se with any other AA that I want to register for. And on the basis of that, I accept the terms and conditions and do a OTP based authentication. Post that, if I'm a first time user, I would also be taken to a link account screen. So essentially, this would be linking the accounts for the first time into the account aggregator framework. So say if I have an HDFC bank account that gets discovered via my phone number, I just go ahead and link that account. So here one OTP based authentication is required per bank, and hence I would be linking this account So this is a linkage that I see via my account. This is where I am approving my particular verification, and then I am giving an eligibility that hey, I am eligible for a particular loan. This is automatic payments that have been set up for bank account verification, the e-signatures that are usually being done. Yeah, and finally the loan being disbursed. So this is a new registration flow that we have. I'd also want to take you through another flow that we have, that we support multi-AA on our platform. So I just take you through the journey. So this is the multi-AA flow that we have. So essentially we as a TSP are support multiple AAs on our platform, irrespective of the AA it being. So this is a journey that would show you how we can actually integrate multiple AAs on our account. So this is me actually completing my KYC with an OTP based authentication, the same use case that we were talking about for the last two videos. Yeah, so here I have an option to select online to power my journey via the account aggregator framework here. Yeah, so here if you can see that the particular consumer has changed the VOA ID and is now using the VOA ID of some other AA right now. That other AA, we have signified that particular AA as AA2 for now, and we are actually using AA, the second AA, to log in into that journey. So our whole flow would want to be a very seamless flow where now we are moving the flow from one account aggregator to the other. So for me as a consumer, I can select any account aggregator that I want to log into. So this is a separate AA2 logo that we show. Yeah. And we move ahead with the journey where my underwriting is being done on the back end, and similar journey where auto payments, e-signatures, and final loan getting disbursed. So these are the three use cases that we wanted to talk about into our UI UX. How we are trying to how we are trying to work with these three use cases is we're trying to have minimalist touch points from a particular customer perspective. We're trying to educate a particular customer about every part of the journey. If it is a registration based OTP, we're giving those details for a particular customer, that this is what the particular consent is being used for. These are a few of the options that we use. So here, as majority of the banks are not yet live on AA, we are expecting a lot of banks to be live on AA by the year end. But for now, what we're trying to give the user is a capability for them to route the requests of the live banks via account aggregator. And whereas if the bank is not live, we are also giving them an option that they can actually use a upload PDF or a net banking option to share the bank account statements. So in the screen that I just showed to you previously, if a particular bank is live with AA, that particular option of online would pop up. And if the bank is not live on AA, it would just not be in the picture. We would just go in via an upload PDF flow. How are we simplifying user onboarding? So essentially for AA registration, what we have done is we've just put a small widget at the bottom of the screen, which is a single step registration with a particular AA. We also have recommended VOA IDs based on phone numbers. Uh, Even we have the recommended VOA IDs, but we also have the ability for a customer to change the VOA ID with a pencil icon just sitting next to it. We give an OTP based consent for a particular user, which is just a step journey for a which is just essentially a one step journey for the user to register on any account aggregator per se. Now coming back to the existing flow that we have, for existing user journey, what we're doing is we're automatically detecting the VOA IDs with existing account aggregators. These are done via the APIs we use at the backend to check if a person has an account with any account aggregator. If the person does not want to use that particular account that we have detected via our backend APIs, the customer can also change that account using the pencil icon on the right hand side and enter his or her VOA ID. So what we have tried to do is we have tried to simplify the process and automate it as much as possible. And the consumer would just have to enter his or her OTP to move ahead and share the bank statements. Yeah, moving on, I think we all in the ecosystem are very well aware of the AA benefits per se. We've just put it on a hindsight for you to look at it, which involve anything from a one-click journey to a reduced drop of rate or less data frauds and an end-to-end financial picture. Why choose us? These are just few of the points that we had put forward. We have custom UI UX journeys integrated for our uh, uh, clients and prospects for their needs. We have a multi AA support, which I had shown you by the UX screen, which essentially is a vendor neutral solution which helps into low drop offs. Our modules are pre-certified. We also have an analytics offering that we can definitely take up for a later time. But yeah, it includes the analytics that we do on the data that we got on the raw data that we could get from the account aggregator. Yeah, I think this is the so moving on. We are also on the OKEN framework right now. So working with OKEN compliant modules is something that we are currently doing using our OKEN bridges. We have our in-house solutions of underwriting GSTs collections that are OKEN compliant with uh, any of the use cases that you can see. So yeah, we're also into the AA OKEN journey currently. Yeah, I think that was it from my side. I'm open to any questions if you have want to ask anything at all. I think we're short of time. But yeah, I would like to give the stage to Nirav once. Yeah.
Just to add to what Jayata was explaining, multi-A support is something very important long term for the ecosystem to expand, and definitely Samad is already working on it to set up some guidelines. But we've been sort of envisioning ourselves how the whole multi-A support could work, and what Jayata was showing you is some of the initial ideas we have, where we'll be very interoperable with multiple A's. The FIU module and the SDKs would be very interoperable, so that it's easy. It's sort of plug and play, where if someone is already a user with one A, then the SDKs and the backend would just detect it and let them sign in with that a handle. They don't have to create a new handle. And if someone is completely new, then we'll have a similar journey, but they'll just have to simply sign up again. No, not much different than login or a sign up process, but we are like working hard to make that process very seamless, so that it will be very much interoperable between multiple A's. So that's a work in progress, but definitely we made some headways and trying to work with some of the A's to make it a reality with the help of Samati. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we're open to questions. It would be great if there are any questions can be put up on the chat box.
So it appears we have a extremely quiet audience. So any, so any questions, guys? So you can come on stage and speak too. If you can raise your hand, I'll be able to bring in you on the stage. Or we will have to pull in somebody. Okay, I don't think people have anything to ask, over here. So thank you, Jayata Nirav. We are recording the session and it will be there on YouTube after a few days. And if we hear from anybody who want to contact you, we will forward it. But your all your contact information is already there, I think, on our site. So thank you guys, for participating in the in our first open house session. It was also an experiment for us. I mean, we enjoyed it. I hope you guys also found it useful. Okay, guys, have a good weekend.
Thanks, Mahesh. Thanks for the
Thank you, Mahesh.
opportunity. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.